They left behind no kings, no grand temples, and no war records. Just symbols. Thousands of them, on seals, pottery, tools, and walls. But what do they mean? And why, after over 100 years, can't anyone read them? Most ancient civilizations left behind texts we could eventually crack. Egypt had hieroglyphs, Mesopotamia had cuneiform, but the Indus Valley? All we've got are strange signs. Some look like fish, others like combs, some repeat, some don't. And after all this time, not a single expert can say with full confidence what they mean. This isn't just a mystery, it's one of the greatest code-breaking challenges in human history. The Indus Valley Civilization was one of the oldest and most advanced societies on Earth. Around 4,000 years ago, they were building cities with plumbing systems better than what came centuries later in Europe. They had trade, sanitation, even public baths. But there's one thing missing that's driving archaeologists nuts: no readable writing. We've found over 4,000 objects with these strange symbols, carved into stone seals, written on pottery shards, etched into copper tablets. But here's the catch: most of these inscriptions are super short, like 5 to 6 characters long. No Rosetta Stone, no long text, nothing to compare, just tiny clusters of marks. So tiny, in fact, that some scholars have questioned whether it's even a real written language, and that's the controversy. Some say it's writing, some say it's not, some think we'll never crack it. Others believe the truth could change everything we thought we knew about the ancient world. So what are these mysterious signs, and why are they so hard to understand? Let's dive into the ruins, the research, and the theories, some wild, some genius, to uncover the secrets hiding in the symbols of the Indus Valley. Before we dig into the symbols, let's back up and understand where they came from. The Indus Valley Civilization, also known as the Harappan Civilization, rose around 3,300 BCE in what's now Pakistan and northwest India. They were true city builders. Their two most famous cities, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, were laid out on a grid, with drainage systems that ran under the streets. Let's talk about the actual symbols. Thousands of them have been found on stone seals, amulets, pottery, even tools. The majority of them come from small square or rectangular seals carved out of steatite, a soft stone. These seals often feature an animal, like a unicorn, yes, seriously, a bull or an elephant, with a short string of symbols above or below. The average number of symbols on a seal? About 5, some have just 1. The longest inscription? Only 26 characters. That's incredibly short compared to texts from other ancient civilizations. For example, a Sumerian tablet can run for paragraphs. Egyptian tombs are covered in lengthy inscriptions. But here, it's like every message is a tweet, and they're written in a script no one understands. The symbols themselves? There are about 400 unique signs. Some look like arrows or tridents. Others look like waves, combs, or human-like figures. Some repeat often. Others are rare. They're written from right to left. At least that's what the experts think based on symbolware and positioning. What makes this all even more frustrating is that there are no bilingual texts, no translations, no Indus to Sumerian dictionaries carved in stone. We don't even know what language they spoke. Here's where the real debate starts. A group of scholars, especially from India, believe the symbols represent a real language. Some think it could be an early version of Dravidian, which is spoken today in southern India. Others suggest it's an ancient form of Indo-Aryan. There are even theories it was its own, now extinct language. But there's another camp led by Steve Farmer, Richard Sproat, and Michael Witzel that believes the symbols aren't a writing system at all. Their 2004 paper stirred up a lot of drama. They argued that the signs are more like religious or political symbols, kind of like a logo or a brand, not used for actual speech. Their main argument? Real writing systems show something called entropy, variation in the length and combinations of characters. Indus symbols don't show much of that, so maybe it's not writing, maybe it's something else. But critics of that theory argue the short length of the inscriptions doesn't mean it's not writing, just that we haven't found the longer texts yet. After all, we didn't fully understand Egyptian writing until we found the Rosetta Stone. Who knows what's still buried under the sands of Pakistan? Let's go through some of the biggest ideas people have had about the Indus script. Theory 1, it's Proto-Dravidian. This is probably the most popular theory, especially in South Asia. Linguist Iravatha Mahadevan spent decades studying the Indus script and believed it could be an early form of the Dravidian language family. He even tried matching Indus signs to Tamil words. Some of his translations made sense. Others were a stretch. Theory 2, it's a lost language, now extinct. Some researchers think the Indus script doesn't resemble any known language because it was a unique language that simply didn't survive. No descendants, no connections, just gone. That makes deciphering it nearly impossible without a Rosetta Stone. Theory 3. It's not writing at all. As we mentioned, this controversial idea suggests the signs are non-linguistic. Think of them as symbols of status, religion, or trade guilds, like a logo. This would explain the short texts, but not the level of consistency seen in the signs. Theory 4. Astronomical code. A more fringe theory suggests the signs are linked to astronomy. Some researchers have claimed that the symbols record celestial events, star charts, or agricultural calendars. There's little hard evidence for this, but it's a fascinating idea. Theory 5. Artificial intelligence might crack it. In recent years, AI researchers have been trying to analyze the Indus script using machine learning. By comparing patterns and frequencies, some hope that computers might one day figure out what human scholars couldn't. It hasn't happened yet, but the possibility is exciting. Imagine this: a breakthrough. A bilingual text is uncovered, or a supercomputer figures out the pattern. Suddenly, the signs become readable. We finally know what the Indus people were saying. What could we learn? Their beliefs, their daily lives, their laws, stories, and rituals, their connections to other ancient civilizations. Right now we know them through their architecture and objects, but not their voices, their thoughts, their stories. Decoding the Indus symbols wouldn't just help us understand them, it would reshape the story of civilization. It would mean adding a whole new voice to the ancient world stage, a voice that's been silent for 4,000 years. And that silence? It's still haunting. Let's zoom in on one of the most common places we find these mysterious symbols: seals. Indus seals are small, often just a few inches across, made of steatite, a soft, carvable stone. Each seal typically shows an animal on one side and a few symbols above or below it. But why? What were they for? Many experts believe these seals were used in trade, kind of like a combination of a signature and a shipping label. You'd stamp it onto a clay tablet or goods package, identifying the sender, the contents, or the destination. Some seals have a loop on the back, meaning they could be worn or hung, maybe around the neck, maybe like ID cards for merchants. Others were found near kilns and granaries, suggesting official use. But here's the thing, the animal symbols vary too much to be just decoration. For instance, the so-called unicorn appears on over 60% of the seals. That's way more than any real animal. And remember, there's no evidence unicorns ever existed, so what's going on? Some researchers think these animals were totemic, representing clans, professions, or even spiritual ideas, like a religious symbol or an ancestral icon, kind of how we use crosses or national flags today. And if that's true, it means the symbols had both a functional and spiritual role, which leads us to a bigger question. Let's head over to one of the most iconic archaeological finds in South Asia, the Great Bath of Mohenjo-Daro. This wasn't just a giant tub, it was a carefully designed structure. Brick-lined, waterproofed with natural tar, and with a sophisticated drainage system. Scholars believe it was used for ritual bathing, not just hygiene. That's huge, because it gives us one of our only clues about Indus religion. And guess what was found nearby? Seals. Lots of them. One particularly famous seal shows a figure sitting cross-legged on a platform, surrounded by animals: buffalo, elephant, tiger, and rhino. Some scholars call this the Proto-Shiva seal. They think it might be an early depiction of the Hindu god Shiva, known as Pashupati, Lord of the Beasts. If true, that could mean a direct religious link between the Indus Valley and later Hindu traditions. But others say that's a stretch. After all, we can't read the signs. We don't have texts explaining what the figure means. It could be a priest, a shaman, or something else entirely. Still, the idea keeps popping up. Because symbols don't just carry meaning, they carry memory. And the same visual symbols can survive for thousands of years. Let's go back to that weird unicorn. It's everywhere in Indus archaeology, but what's odd is, this unicorn doesn't look like a traditional horse with a horn. It looks more like a bull, with one long horn curving backward. Some think it's a mythical animal. Others say it might be a stylized version of a known animal, like the now extinct Indian aurochs. Whatever it was, it mattered, because it appears on most seals. And that made scholars look closer. One theory? The unicorn seal might have been a mark of official trade, sort of like a government stamp or an elite merchant guild. The fact that these seals have been found in places like Mesopotamia tells us something big. The Indus Valley had global reach. Think about that. A civilization we can't even read had already created an international brand thousands of years ago. Their symbols traveled across deserts and seas. That's power. And it raises another question. If other civilizations saw these symbols, Could they have copied them? Were early ideas of written language influenced by these strange signs? We might never know for sure, but it changes the way we look at ancient globalization. So what happened? Why did one of the world's most advanced civilizations vanish, and why did their writing, or whatever it was, go extinct? The fall of the Indus Valley Civilization is one of history's greatest cold cases. Here's what we do know. By around 1900 BCE, things started to go wrong. Cities were abandoned, trade networks collapsed, the symbols stopped appearing, but why? One theory: climate change. Geological evidence suggests the once powerful Saraswati River dried up. Floods, droughts, or shifts in monsoon patterns could have wrecked agriculture and pushed people out of the cities. Another theory: tectonic activity. Earthquakes may have altered river courses or destroyed infrastructure. Some have blamed invasion, pointing to the arrival of Indo-Aryan peoples, but there's not much archaeological evidence for mass violence or destruction, so it's more likely that it was a slow decline, not a dramatic fall. As people left the cities and spread into villages, their systems of writing, especially if they were used mostly by the elite, could have simply died out. And with it, the symbols vanished. Today, new excavations are still happening. Sites like Rakhigarhi in India are revealing massive cities with complex layouts and more symbols, some never seen before. And with better technology, like satellite imaging, AI scanning, and chemical analysis, we're finding more clues every year. Even DNA studies have shown connections between ancient Harappans and modern South Asian populations, especially in Dravidian-speaking communities. So while the signs remain silent, their creators are still with us, in our genes, our languages, even in our cities, many of which still follow the urban planning principles first used in the Indus. We may not have cracked the script yet, but we're not done digging. Here's the turning point. Imagine being the first person to recognize what the Indus signs meant. That fish symbol? It's not a fish, it's a word for star. That trident? It's a number. The unicorn? A title. And then it all clicks. Suddenly, the entire civilization speaks. They tell us how they lived, what they believed, what they feared, who they worshipped, how they governed. Entire histories hidden in plain sight, finally unlocked. That moment hasn't happened yet, but it could. And if it does, it would be one of the biggest breakthroughs in human history. We often think that ancient mysteries are things we've already solved, but the Indus Valley symbols remind us of how much we still don't know. They built vast cities, pioneered sanitation, and traded with the world. Yet we don't know what they called themselves, what stories they told, what their symbols meant. These signs aren't just marks on stone, they're voices lost in time. And even now, as we search, decode, and debate, those symbols are still talking to us. We just haven't figured out how to listen. If you enjoy our journey, please like and subscribe to our channel. And if you like our content and want to support me, you are welcome to buy me a coffee. The link is in the description box below.